What's your first thoughts about what we saw last night at the MCG with Carlton just holding on after a fast-finishing Bombers stormed home in the second half? But the Blues, bit of relief there, Kingy.
Bit of relief. Carlton were very good early. They just can't put 120 minutes together is my first thoughts, but let's celebrate. What a good game it was. I thought it was just going to be a meandering bore fest from midpoint of the second quarter. I thought it was just going to smash them. And then the Bombers' key playmakers, and the key playmakers are slightly different now than what they once were. Nick Martin has become a top liner, hasn't he?
Oh, my word.
He's right there now.
So just looking at a couple of his numbers since round 9, he's a top 10 player, really, in a lot of categories.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because Chin Cotter was sort of starting at half forward and Merritt was starting at half forward as the game settled, and he was coming off Martin to take Merritt, which left Martin free. I'm not sure if Carlton had their time again, they would have allowed Martin to be the loose behind the ball, particularly in the last quarter where he did a fair amount of damage. But, yeah, I think if you're looking to play against Essendon, is it Merritt or Martin now who you're going after? It's a genuine discussion of which one you go to.
Yeah, and it was good to see Parrish back getting his hands on the ball.
A bit scratchy, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, 100%. So there's something there. And I think he's a polarising player for the Bombers faithful. I don't know if
Parrish?
I'm not convinced they know whether they love him or they don't. Like, is he staying long term? He signed the big deal. Is he a player you could move on and get something for? But then they're youngsters. I mean, Lual, he did some things last night.
Showed a bit.
And he's tackling. He was just hunting after the ball. I thought, terrific. Now, I think Brad knows you've got to live with some young errors. And there was a couple of Blues, mate.
Yeah,
Clark let Williams slip out the back once, and it was just like you're gonna have those cough-up goals with young teams. But I thought it was great to see Walshy back in a bit of form last night, particularly early. He set the game up, and then when it needed to be won, he closed the door on them.
Yeah, so you mentioned that was the thing. They were just a bit scrappy, Essendon, by hand. They were out a couple of times, and that last handball before the kick inside forward 50 hit the deck. I think they handball too much, and I think that invites the pressure, like nearly as many handballs as kicks. Now, that's clearly part of their game style, but at times last night they didn't need that extra handball, which invited the pressure, invites the turnover, and Carlton go back and make you hurt for it. I mean, that's what we'd been crying out to see from the Blues. I think it was 13 entries for 10 scores, and multiple options going into an open forward line with fast ball movement. The midfield was dynamic, led by De Koning, who had just an extraordinary game, as to be expected, against a 36-year-old and Goldie, who tried his best. But the first quarter is worth rewatching if you're a Carlton player and going, okay, that's it. That's what we've been missing this year, with the ability to move the footy.
Yeah, and I think they need to now have a discussion, not off the back of this game necessarily, but if your vision's taken by the two big boppers and you just blast the ball, and they fell back into that a little bit. I still think they've got to open their eyes on what Harry Mackay is for them. Like, is he absolutely there next year? Is the question I think we need to be asking. And if he is there, are there other options for him? Like, I know Silvani's doing a great job, and Wiedering is a top liner. Could he play centre half back and a little bit of second ruck? I think he'd be a super centre half back. He's got all the attributes to play the role. I just don't know. If they need him forward of the ball. They look more dynamic with a McGovern.
McGovern, yeah.
He's not a star McGovern, but he can travel. He can run.
What they need is an elite small forward. So Motlop definitely worth persisting with, and as good a game as I've seen him play this year, and they recognise that. Patrick Cripps spoke about it. Vossi said about how proud he was after as well. So definitely persist with Motlop, but there needs to be another elite small forward. Now, if that's at the expense of Harry Mackay, I think that's okay. Now, that's a big decision to make. What's his value? How much of the contract are you going to have to pay? All of that is up for discussion. The other one is, as we've spoken about, well, I have anyway, like, is Walsh someone with a lot of interest that you can move on? Not through anything that he's done poorly or any of his fault, just that the mix of the midfield is at the right mix with Walsh and Chera and Cripps. Because he's the one with the value, and he's the one with the shortest contract that you can actually move out for 1-2 first-round draft picks free up some room in your. They are hamstrung, the Blues. So you got to factor that in from a salary cap point of view, from a picks point of view. They don't have their pick. Now, if you want to revamp the list and if there's glaring holes in it, small forward, running defender.
I'm not getting rid of Walsh for a small forward.
But you get rid of him for draft picks, so you can address.
And wait 3 years to work out.
No, you can address that. You need the capital to be able to do some moves.
Mackay before Walsh.
Yeah, you reckon he's got the long-term deal, which makes it really difficult to move.
But clubs pay for the long-term deals.
What are they going to give you for? What do you think you're going to get for Harry?
Not too dissimilar to what you're going to get for Walsh.
You think?
Yeah. What do you get? What do you get? A pick in the late teens? Is that what you get?
I think you'd get more than that for Walsh.
For Harry?
Yeah, and then also how much you're going to have to pay. So it's an interesting discussion. I just think it's a hard one to be able to move him. And if there's teams coming hard for Walsh and he's got 1 year to go and you go, well, it's similar to Zach Butters. If he's going to go anyway, do we look at moving him? And is that giving us some flexibility?
Is there small forward Williams?
Well, when he plays.
Yeah. I understand that.
His record when he plays is pretty good.
He's not always available, but yeah, he does have a big impact on this team. Doesn't it? I mean, he wasn't originally targeted to play this role, but he's fallen into this role. He does it quite well. He's the one guy that does do something different when he's kicking it inside 50. And Curnow, his eyes just light up when he sees that it's him with ball in hand. Saad was very good early last night. I thought he just goes missing for large chunks of games. It's the same discussion we're going to have probably with Nick Blakey later on. How do they get more out of Saad as a running halfback, not a stay-at-home halfback?
Well, it would help if there's another one there to help him.
Well, we're talking with Ollie later. They're using Ollie Hollands in that role, but I'm not 100% sure that suits him. Anyway, I think he's a really good wingman. So it's just, to me, that Carlton we find reasons to go after every role. Every position, we say, well, Silvani's working, but, can you use him here? Look, they've got to work out what's the reason, what's the point of difference for them to win the flag. It just can't be bashing teams.
Yeah, and it just can't be sneak into the 8. They have to be in the winning it business right now with where they are at. So I think it's a good point. And what does it look like if De Koning leaves? I mean, he was the one that you go, gee, what is it actually going to look like if he leaves? I mean,
would you keep him at the price?
Well, not at that price.
Well,
not at that number.
At $1 million,
yeah,
at 1.2?
Yeah, that would be around the mark. I said probably 4 years ago he's the next $1 million player. That's just exploded. There's a reasonable price to stay, and that's a big number. At 1.7, you can't afford to keep him. And he's probably made that decision already.
Jagger Smith is coming through on the text machine.
Yeah,
he did look
helps.
terrific in the pre-season, but let's be honest, he's going to be a first-year player. We haven't cited him yet, so it's very hard to say that he's going to be the reason. But
what did you think of Durham on Chera? I thought it was one of the most dangerous things I've seen on a football field for a long, long time.
Yeah, but how have we got here? I've bashed my head against a brick wall about players not addressing their behaviour. We're still bumping. We've seen 2 on the weekend, two big clashes on the weekend. Now, everyone will be at one extreme with the Stewart one and at one extreme with the Durham one. But essentially, it's the decision to go in at speed to a situation where you don't really know the outcome. And the potential for serious injury with this Durham one, I hope they do elevate it. And I've got nothing against Durham. He plays the game
so we all love
exactly the way you want
Durham.
Yeah.
It was just one of the stupidest
This
things.
should be elevated because of the likelihood to cause serious injury.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got that
They have.
capability in the MRO. Gabbo's going to join us to run us through all those scenarios. It appears as though it'll be 1 week because he escaped with no concussion. He did have a big shiner on his right eye, though, Adam Chera. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing that you would think to do that in 2025. It was we outlawed this with Byron Pickett, the front on bump.
So have we changed behaviour?
Well, I think so. Very rarely do you see players suspended
2
for
on the weekend.
bumps. Yeah, but the Stewart one's a footy collision. His head was nowhere near that collision. Noah Anderson.
Wow.
Nowhere near it.
When so this is where we disagree. So when he decides I'm going for him, right? And I'm going to nail him in the ribs. You really have no control where the head is for the opponent.
Yeah, I saw a couple of really fair. I saw Farrell on Lecalier, really fair bump.
Yep.
Vicentini on Alia, again, he had a rough
levels,
night.
Not to the
But
levels.
that's a bump. That's a decision to bump. And that is a fair, well-executed bump that seriously hurt your opponent and hampered their performance like the Stewart one. And the head was nowhere near any of those. So I still think there is a place in it. And these athletes are pretty good, pretty switched on. I think usually they can make pretty good decisions in that space.
Yeah.
Durham's decision was
I disagree.
stupid and ridiculous.
I think the coach.
So do you want Stewart suspended?
I think I don't want him suspended, but I think the coach will say at about round 15 or round 18, hey, listen, let's put these bumps away. Well, I can't have you missing 3 weeks now. I can't have you missing for a final. Because if it happens in round 23, you'll say, oh, how stupid is this? On the eve of the finals, why would you be doing it? Well, this is the discussion for now. You've got to just take it out of your kit bag. What do you really gain? What do you really gain out of that bump?
Well, you can't tackle him because the ball's in dispute. Doesn't have the ball yet. So there has to be a weaponry in your arsenal where it's not a tackle, but it's a collision. Because you can't. What are you going to do? Just stop and wait for him to grab it and then try and
there's a big
tackle
difference
him
between
when he's got the momentum.
how he bumped him and any other option, isn't there? Because of the speed.
Yeah, I think I'm separating the Durham and Stewart. I just think they're completely. You've got them in the same category. I think they're completely different. I think when Chera's got his head over the football in that moment and Durham has a play on the ball and chooses to take his eyes off it, brace himself, get him front on, and could have been catastrophic, I think that's different to what Tom Stewart
I don't
did.
have him in the same bracket at all. I mean, if Chera had put his head in a normal, natural position, there's every chance he's in a wheelchair today. He had his
I agree with
head
that.
lifted, which was an abnormal position, wasn't it? It's so dangerous. We've got to find a way through this, and we're crying out for the players to help us, really.
Well, that was the Friday night game. Adelaide getting it done against Brisbane. They kicked 5 goals in the last quarter, 5 goals straight to, what was it, 0 goals, 10 and 2 on the full?
8 points.
2 on the full and 1 smothered. What fair from Fakes to say that they should have won that game?
Ah, yeah.
There's a few Crows fans upset about that.
Dennis used to say losers can please themselves. Say what you like, doesn't matter. It's really, no one cares.
He's right, though.
What do you mean he's right?
Well, he's right. He absolutely dominate the last quarter and kick 0 goals, 8, 2 out in the full, and have 1 smothered.
Yep. Terrific.
So he's right.
Terrific. I'm not. Who cares? Like,
but surely as a footy club, Adelaide, you get the win, but you've also got to take some learnings from that as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'd rather.
Well, say what you want to say.
I just don't understand why we're making excuses for a team that's losing. A good game of footy. No damage either way. Brisbane are still a good side. We still respect them. It was a game Adelaide had to win.
So what should he have said?
I don't know. I'm not here to answer it for Chris, but I just think that Adelaide played pretty well. I mean, they smashed them in the air. 13-2 contested marks between the arcs. And we've had a lot of chats about the tall forwards, and I think the tall forwards, when they roll up the ground and become long down the line options, no one can outmark Riley Thilthorpe. No one in the comp.
How are the other two going?
Well, they had their moments. My thoughts are that it's an asset for them, and you don't know which of the three is going to create the mismatch. So we see Tex Walker have impact because he's got the smallest of the three defenders.
Yeah, he had Leicester.
That's right. The smallest of the three, so he cashes in.
I'm not sure he cashed in.
Well, one of them cashes. You see, they take marks up the field. You don't necessarily rate that. It's the biggest mark in footy is the long down the line mark. It takes you clearly from either an intercept point of view or a continuance down the ground. I like the way that they're playing. I think they're the real deal. I think they're in the fight for the flag this year.
Are they in your fireball 5?
They will be a major part of my 5.
Will they? For the first time this year?
They'll be in there. But I've liked the way they've built.
And we all do. The question was around Chris's comments that a few Adelaide fans are upset by. I wasn't upset by it at all. I thought he just spoke honestly. That was the message he's going to give to his players. And I don't know how and why they lost all composure late, but they dominated the second half of that last quarter, and I agree with him. Should have won. That's not saying that Adelaide aren't as I've said all year, the real deal, and they needed that scalp, as we discussed on Friday. Still think they've
Are
got
they
some...
the same team, Brisbane, right now?
No, they're not.
So I think we've all got blind faith that they'll be fine and they'll come good. We're at round 13 now. So this is sort of when we start
Time to
to
get
see
on.
it.
Time to see it.
Time to start getting moving.
They've got moments players at the moment. They're very talented players that have some really good moments. Charlie Cameron, I thought Cam Rayner was excellent for the majority of the game, to be fair, but he is more of a moments player than a consistent player week in, week out. I thought McCluggage was poor. It was the worst game I've seen him play for a long time.
McCluggage was poor.
Yeah, his ball use early was as poor as I've seen from him.
Just Rayner can do some things, can't he? I mean, when Rayner puts a game together, it all goes on the scoreboard. He's one of those. He's like a moving bollard. You can't tackle him. He's just a beauty. Will Ashcroft. He just navigates his way around the ground at the one pace all day. What an asset he's going to be going forward.
And Fletcher's the other one. Fletcher's.
You
now,
like Fletcher?
Yeah, I just think we've spoken about him a lot, but if you speak to people at Brisbane, they think his ceiling is as high as anyone. So I'm not particularly concerned about the Lions. I think they should have won the game of footy. Equally, it was a really good scout for Adelaide to get, one that they needed, and should give them a lot of belief that they can be there on prelim final weekend.
I'm going to just give one little clip, and you probably shouldn't do it, but Josh Rochelle, right, had a good game. Mm-hmm. He had a good game.
Had a good month.
Yeah.
But
there's a moment, 8 minutes to go, fourth quarter. He's coming back with the flight of the ball into the defensive 50. They're under absolute siege back there. Brisbane are coming hard. He takes his eyes off the footy because he feels traffic coming and doesn't take the ball clean, cost a shot at goal. Now, if that goal had have been kicked, we would be talking about that moment today like we have with him in the past. So I just want him to just curb the celebration.
The exuberance.
Curb the exuberance until you clean that side of your game up. Because if that had have cost them the game, that would be all we're talking about all weekend. So tidy up those little areas, knock the warts off, and get yourself back in full working order.
Yep. That was Todd Viney speaking about Harry Sheasel. Great to see that they finally worked out where to play him with good results. Had a huge last quarter, Harry Sheasel. Well done to him, 12 touches, 4 score involvements.
I'm not sure that's his best spot.
You don't think?
No.
I think it is.
Yeah, I know you do.
So you disagree with the club?
Yeah.
Why?
And you're allowed to.
Yeah, no, of course you are.
Of
course you are.
No, I just don't think he has the speed to get back to goal, to reset as quick as the half forwards do. And why would you have your best ball user fighting for the odd touch here and there? I like him in the middle at centre bounces, and I like him roaming corridor as a halfback flanker.
Right.
I think he'd be a gun halfback. And I think they need a halfback more than they need a centre forward player.
I'm not sure. O'Sullivan, McKercher, I think more halfback suited than Sheasel.
They're not Sheasel.
Quality, yeah, but
They're not.
Quality in the front half of the ground. Whichever way you want to spin it, whether it's mid forward or whatever, whether it's the half forward coming, whatever it is.
Doesn't have the speed to lose an opponent.
But Pendlebury doesn't have the speed.
Pendlebury doesn't play half forward.
No, he doesn't. He plays mid. He's played mid forward.
He plays that corridor roaming role. He's corridor. That's what I want Sheasel to do.
Yeah, I don't care what you call it. What I care about is how many touches he gets in the front half of the ground, how many times he kicks the ball inside 50, because the team will be better for it and it will lead to more scores than when he's doing what he has been doing across halfback. Anyway, you put it on him, North.
Yeah.
Happy?
Awful game.
Happy?
I don't think anyone's happy with that game. I don't think anyone watching that game.
North sounded happy after the game. Clarko sounded thrilled.
It's always better to win than not to win.
Of course.
That's the bottom line. For a team that hasn't won too often, it's good to see them sing the song. But there's a long way to go still, unfortunately. Yeah, and we've been here before and we've talked about this. Tristan Sherry is an unbelievable player.
Yeah, he was.
An unbelievable
Imagine if
player.
he didn't play yesterday.
Well, he's your Australian ruck.
Is he?
Yep.
You said that on Friday.
I just think the more I watch him, it is hard in a team that's underperforming to be the dominant man, and he's been that all year. And he just knew exactly what to do at the end of the game. I'm just going to monster the other ruckman and just grab the ball. He killed the last 2 minutes of footy by himself. So to have the awareness to do that. And then you see Paul Curtis. They're the two that won them the game yesterday.
He's elite.
He's a star, Paul Curtis, and he's challenging a few. Finn O'Sullivan did some things yesterday. There you go.
Really like him.
This is something there.
Really, really like him. I love his composure. I think he's going to be a seriously good player, and that's what happens when you finish down the bottom. You get access to the best players, and that's what they've done. So, I don't know. I thought they'd be more advanced than where they are. I think West Coast had kicked 1 goal 14 at one stage, minus 22 in entries for North. So there's some serious issues, and you hope they aren't just swept under the carpet because they're in Perth and it's nice and you win.
They can't sweep anything under the carpet. Why would they be doing that?
Well, I hope not. I hope it's not.
Why would they?
The relief of winning, and that overshadows what could have been a complete disaster.
Yeah, well, we all agree, but in the end, they found a way to get over the line. And you're right, it was Sheasel in the last quarter. I think he had 11 in the last.
12, I think.
Yeah, 12 in the last. And Parker was very good. So these are the moments where you've got Luke Parker for. A bit of surety, a bit of understanding what's required, right time. Really disappointed for Charlie Comben. I mean, this is a guy that just needs an even run at footy. Yeah. He's. I think we said last night he's played 57 of a possible 108 games, unsighted for the first sort of 3 years of his career, and he just was settled beautifully at centre-half back. So hopefully the reports that come back today aren't too severe.
All right. You can have your say, North fans, as they got it done by 10 points with a big last quarter. What they kick in the end, 4 goals 5 to 1 goal 2 to get it done and avoid disaster. The Giants are cooked, aren't they? The Giants are completely cooked. They're out. They're out of the race. They cannot do anything this year. They will not do anything. They have so many areas of their game that are in complete turmoil, Kingy. What are your first thoughts on them?
Yeah, well, I said it the other day. I think
cooked.
They'll be lucky to make finals, and even if they do, they'll be on fumes. Look, it's just disappointing. I mean, there's this ball movement model we've talked about for years is not there anymore. I'm really drilling into what Whitfield and Ash and these guys are giving in terms of, punishing ball use, damaging ball use. They've gone away from their handball game. I don't understand why they've gone away from their handball game. And if I see one more dump, surge, hack, scrubby kick from a clearance, I'll spew up, to use a Terry Wallace. They've become vanilla. They have become so boring that it's frightening.
So boring.
So boring.
It was just...
Their scores from clearance the last 5 weeks, they're the worst in the comp, minus 3 goals on the opposition. They pose no threat.
I'll tell you what, there was a baller that tweeted me saying that he was upset that he was watching Dirty Dancing. He'd been forced to watch Dirty Dancing on a Saturday night.
You respond?
I was thinking about doing the same. That's how bad this game was.
Well, that's how bad your life's going watching Dirty Dancing.
No, well, it was better. It was better than watching that rubbish from both teams. Albeit, there were some star players that, well, for Port Adelaide, dragged their team over the line. I thought Butters was terrific. Thought Bergman was extraordinary, and I hate to think what happens if those two leave. So that's a positive, but can also be wrapped up in a negative as well. And I thought Rosie's performance was terrific as well. And Sam Taylor,
Butters leaves.
Well, and Bergman's become pretty important for them as well, aerially and with the role that he's playing as he's Port Adelaide's Jordan Dawson. He's not as good as Jordan Dawson.
Why would you stay, is my question. And I asked that a few weeks ago. We're not going down that path today, right?
And cash.
Yeah, loyalty, terrific.
And you get to play with the mad cuddler.
Yeah, the mad cuddler who had to wait an hour and a half for Willie Rioli to come in after doing 17 laps after the game. What was Willie doing?
I don't know. I was out by that stage. I wasn't hanging around to watch Willie sing the song.
Seriously?
I was done halfway through the game. I certainly wasn't hanging around for 5 minutes post-game.
No, you were having the time of your life. Not Ollie Wines. What was I was going to say? Willie, he still does a few things that separate the game, though, Willie, doesn't he? He's class in the forward 50. It just, I don't know if we're getting the best of Willie, but I don't know where he's... Yeah, anyway, the post-game stuff was fascinating.
My word, it was.
Almost like...
It was really fascinating.
Yeah. Well, don't. I'll ring Adrian Anderson again. I just wonder, like, is it a little, middle finger to the group when you're waiting 5 minutes to sing the song?
You think it was a message?
Well, I don't know. It just was bizarre. I've never seen a player take that long knowing you've got to sing the song.
Right.
It was weird.
I remember the Giants, I reckon, waiting for Lecalier for a long time. Might have been after his first game in GMHBA. They were waiting.
First game, I
they were
understand.
waiting for him.
I can
he was
understand first
autographing,
game.
he was selfieing, he was loving it. He was lapping it
I
up.
don't know. If I got that wrong or not, I'll ask the ballers.
I'll ring my man. I'll ring my man from the footy club.
What's he going to say?
Well, he'll be honest.
Oh, will he?
Yeah, of course
What
he
will
will.
he say?
Might say that Willie had some friends in the crowd and
Did
he
he?
was catching up. He might. I don't know.
in
As I
Canberra?
said, I didn't see it. I was in bed because I was already sick of the game and I definitely wasn't hanging around for another 10 minutes.
Well, I'll bring it up
I'm not
for you.
forced to work 14 hours on a Saturday like you are.
No one forces anything in life. You make your own choices.
Our mid-season reviews. How are the bye weeks going, do we think, Kingy? Just before we get into this.
Can we just do it in one weekend?
Just loses all momentum.
Even across 2 weekends, if you have to. Just get it out of the way as quick as you can. It's dragging out.
All right, the Tigers enter their little rest period. They are, how many games they won? A couple of games, 3 games, pretty good, I would have thought. Richmond, just in terms of where we thought they were at. Their over and under was 2.5. I went over, you went under, which probably speaks to the fact that it was a low bar. But apart from the weekend, which was really disappointing, and they spoke to that, didn't score for 98 minutes, which I think is a club record. They've been pretty impressive on where we thought they would be.
Now, I've been wrapped with Richmond, and that sounds silly when you look at the win. It's not really about the wins. They've blooded a lot of kids. They've been in most games. I mean, really, they've had, 2 or 3 shockers that you're really disappointed in.
Yep.
But I love what they've done. They probably should have beaten North Melbourne, probably should have beaten the Giants, was it?
Yep, lost to North Melbourne by 4, lost to the Giants by 3. Was smacked up a little bit earlier in round 2 and round 3 by Port Adelaide and St Kilda, 72 and 82. But from there, apart from the weekend, I mean, it's been pretty good.
7 debutants. He's done exactly what he said he'd do. He's going to blood the kids, and as soon as those youngsters that were elite draft picks last year are healthy and fit and ready to go, they'll be in. So I think Adam Uze has been a big winner of 2025.
I agree with that. I think he's. I was pretty hard on him last year, but I think he's just slightly changed his demeanour when he's needed to publicly say that's not acceptable, like he did on the weekend. He's been prepared to do that, which he wasn't last year, and I think he's demanding more of the group. I think it's a pass mark, certainly.
And I think a little shout out to the core of midfielders that are senior core players and the halfback flankers, Broad and Vlosten, who've really led the way. And it's a tough environment and a tough position to be in when you know that you're not going to have success and you've got to keep fronting up. They've all been terrific. I had Vlosten in my All-Australian
Got tagged on the
squad.
weekend.
Yeah, he's at that level where you're starting to get tagged, which means the competition's recognising what you're doing. So credit to them. And they've got it. It's hard to, when you fall in love with kids really easy because we've got low expectations of them, but they've got 3 or 4 that we've seen already. You go, yep, he's a player. It's a very promising 2025 for the Tigers.
Very promising as we move to Sydney, who enter their mid-season bye in 13th position. They are 5 and 8 after getting the win over Richmond on the weekend. Wins against Fremantle, North Melbourne, the Giants, Carlton and Richmond. After the bye, it's Port Adelaide, the Western Bulldogs, Fremantle and St Kilda. So they probably should be winning 2 of the next 4. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really disappointing season for Dean Cox in his first season.
Just got too much wrong.
Yep.
Just got too much wrong early and sent things into a flat spin. The McCartan move I can't get past. I think it's the worst move of the year so far. If they had have shored up their defence earlier and they may have stolen a couple of those games or won a couple of those games and kept their season afloat, we're only now just seeing Warner in the forward 50 and Blakey as a high half-back on the weekend, someone that can actually damage games rather than just kicking the ball out from fullback. So I think they've been slow to the party with a few things, the Sydney Swans. Yes, injuries are a factor. I understand that. But I think they overrate their injury, the players on their injury list in their absence. Disappointing season. Heaney hasn't been as dominant as he was last year. Warner hasn't been as dominant as last year. And they've lent on that next level of player that haven't delivered. Yep,
pretty well surmised. I would have thought the Gold Coast Suns are in 5th position after the loss to Geelong. They do have a game in hand as they enter the break. So wins against West Coast Melbourne, Adelaide, North Melbourne. Knocked off the Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn and St Kilda. Lost to Geelong. It's the Giants, Melbourne, Essendon and Collingwood after the bye. They're still up to it, to their eyeballs, Gold Coast. They are.
Up to what? Winning it?
Playing, in that rung of the ladder.
Say it.
They're
what are you
one of-
saying? You're mumbling.
They're one of 5 teams that can win it.
That can win it?
Yeah.
Whew.
Of course they can.
Okay. All
And
right.
they'll need some. They're not my premiership favourite,
They're in your 5,
but
though.
they're in my 5, and they have been for a long time now.
Okay. I don't.
You're not with
share-
me.
Well, I think
You're
they've-
sipping margaritas in the preseason,
Yeah.
but you just haven't quite got there yet.
Look, I like the fact they're going to be in the finals this year. I think they'll hang on and play finals.
Hang on.
Yeah, it'll be hang on. I don't think they're going to charge into a final series. They're not as dominant. They're not as polished over the last 2 or 3 weeks as what they were, 6 weeks ago. So their ball movement stuff and their ability to convert going in still needs a little bit of work. But they've made some significant inroads this year, haven't they? I mean, they've had a terrific season. Damien's done a great job. I love what Noah Anderson has become. Matty Rowell, do they hang on to him? Do they not? There's a big decision. The biggest win for them now is the signature of Matty Rowell, really. They've shown they're at the level for, in the top half a dozen teams in the competition. It's the next step is the biggest step in footy.
Yep.
Going from that mid-table to top 4 is the hardest jump of all.
All right, as we move on to the Pies, it feels strange to sort of wrap them up now, considering that they play today, but they're absolutely flying. As we discussed on Friday, they're 10-2. They're playing better football than anyone. Their best football is better than anyone's. They're all on the same page. Their game plan is elite, and there's so much belief in it from their players, regardless of who is in the lineup. And if they stay healthy, they're a very good chance to win the whole thing, which is not a sentence I thought I would have been saying in the preseason.
Win today, and that's just a management discussion from
Yep.
here on in. Keep the club on track, smooth. Just keep it nice and smooth. They'll definitely
On and off
rest,
field.
They'll definitely rest a few of their players. Continue to rest a few of their players in the back half of the year. I like what they're doing without the footy more than with it, and that's a great space to be.
Got to keep that stability on the field and off it.
Yeah.
This is the Fireball 5. Do not get confused. The 5 teams who we have seeded, we think
We're
are
here.
the best.
We're here.
We are here, so
Yeah.
we can do what we like.
Exactly.
I've gone for Brisbane at 1,
Oof.
Collingwood at 2. The Cats just continually defy the odds at 3. Gold Coast, my Suns at 4. And my Hawks, yes, my Hawks at 5. Kingy, who'd you go for?
I'll tell you what, there's been a shift.
A shift.
Yeah. I'm warming to the Cats.
Okay.
I'm really warming to the Cats.
Tell me more.
Well, I just think when you see Stewart and Henry in that back line, it looks bulletproof. So I know Collingwood are playing some great footy, but
Oh,
I'm
here's the story.
flipping my selections
At
at the
1.
top. I'm going with the Cats at 1, just because I'm trying. I think we can see they're going to have a great run of home games now.
yeah.
So Cats at 1,
Okay.
Collingwood at 2,
Yep.
Brisbane at 3, the Adelaide Crows
Ooh,
at 4,
there's a move.
and the Hawks at 5. I'll tell you what, at Fremantle, they got a good little patch. in
No
front of
Western Bulldogs for the first time in a while for
them. No
you.
dogs. Yeah, no, bad loss.
Yeah.
Bad loss, and until
1-6 against top 8 teams. The one they've beaten is the Giants.
yep. Close losses to the top 8, in
Yep.
fairness.
They'll storm home.
They will.
The
but
Western Bulldogs?
Let's wait and see.
Okay.
That's why we do the
Is that
5.
contract done? Well, actually, I'll ask about that in a sec.
Yeah.
The Fireball 5 best players in the comp, which is a
Yeah, this
new
is interesting.
addition. Power rankings.
Well, just skip one at a time, right?
One at a time. Should we go from 5 to 1?
Go at 5. Who's your 5th?
Well, I had a lot of trouble with 5.
Who's your 5?
I could have gone for a lot of midfielders, but I went for Cozzy Pickett at 5.
Cozzy
Yeah,
Pickett.
Cozzy Pickett at 5 with what he is doing in the role that he is playing and how important he is. He is a real point of difference to this league and his team. Pickett at 5. Who's at 5 for you?
Hugh McCluggage.
Oh,
It's about time the competition recognised Hugh McCluggage. They put him in all Australian squads. Your men,
4 times.
all Australian squads, and then just disregard him
4
come
times.
the team.
Yep.
I think this man
Fair.
is a top liner in our comp.
No
right now.
arguments from me.
Well, there's arguments. Is he in your 5?
Not in my 5.
Well, then
but
there's
it's a
arguments.
tough 5 to break into. At 4, Sam Taylor. Sam Taylor at
Taylor.
4. He played
Not bad.
football's equivalent of perfection on the weekend. Not sure he can play better. So he's at 4, and I'm really comfortable with him at 4. Who's at 4 for you?
No, Tristan Sherry.
Okay.
I think he's at that level now.
Got your North Melbourne goggles on there or not?
I think you
Top 4?
You're on the Australian committee.
Yeah.
Are you watching footy, man?
Yeah.
This guy's a freak.
He's the fourth best.
He's a beast.
Is he the 4th best player right now in football?
I think he is.
Okay.
I think he is. I think he's the premier ruckman in the comp right now. And what he's doing in a team that's underperforming has to be recognised. Just because they're not a superstar lineup doesn't mean you can't recognise the individual.
All right. Nick Dacos at 3 for me. No discussion really needed. He's flying. And he, for me, is the 3rd best player in the comp right now. For you?
Bailey Smith.
Okay.
I think Bailey Smith's season's been just ridiculous, and no one expected him to go to this level. His gut running sets the scene for the competition.
I got the Bont at 2.
The Bont is at 1 for me.
Bont's at 1 for you.
The Bont's at 1 for me,
Okay.
so I think he's the best player in the comp.
No, I think he's.
Who you got at 1?
Sam Darcy at 1.
What?
Sam Darcy at 1.
What are you talking
Sam Darcy's
about?
he's the best player in the comp.
Not even playing.
Yeah, I know, but that's okay.
You're at 5.
Sam Darcy
Get feedback.
is the best player in football. Who's at 2 for you?
Jordan Dawson.
Okay.
I think he's had a huge year, Jordan Dawson. Huge year.
No, did you?
I haven't got
No,
Dacos in there.
Dacos.
No, I haven't got him in there. I don't think he's had the top 5 year.
Nah, but this is the 5 or 5 best players,
Yeah.
not ranking the strength of their season.
Well, what else are you ranking it on?
How good a player they are.
That you
can
you
separate.
just change
No,
criteria.
No. You can say
to suit yourself.
For example, you can say Lockie Ash is having a very good season. I just wouldn't have him as a top 5 player in the league. So there's a
Well, I've
there's a
steered towards this
difference
season,
there.
to be fair.
Okay.
But Darcy's a good one. Look, if you're going long term, Darcy's
He's
a
the best player in the
star.
comp.